10 types of zombie apocalypse survivors. But first, it was great seeing how global our audience was in our zombie-proof houses video. People all the way from Scotland, Australia, Israel, and even our own country boys in Texas. Let us know where you're from and what type of survivor you would be, and maybe we'll feature you in an upcoming video. Number 10. Home Fortress Prepper. For most zombie apocalypse preppers, the home fortress is going to be their main strategy for obvious reasons. No one wants to leave the comfort of their own home, even during a crisis situation. This zombie apocalypse survival strategy, however, is going to be somewhat difficult to sustain for a long period of time. Preppers will need to stock up on large amounts of food, fresh water, toilet paper, exercise equipment, and of course, equipment to protect themselves with. Guns and ammunition will need to be stored in a safe place, and you'll need to practice regularly by going to the firing range. This might be one of the better strategies on the list, but every strategy will have a downfall. Food supplies will eventually run low, running water most likely won't exist, and having power generators kinda makes you a target. The best way to make the home fortress strategy work is to lie low, be cautious of outsiders even if they're your friends, invest in low-key security cameras, and use as little of your stored resources as possible. Number 9. Hideout Dwellers. While staying in your own home and trying to tough it out might work for some, others would prefer to relocate somewhere where zombies can't reach them. The hideout dweller secretly constructs their hideout in places like mountains or on islands and gradually stocks supplies here, just in case. This will ultimately require a vehicle that you'll carefully select to properly handle the terrain and get there safely. Check our best vehicles for the zombie apocalypse video if you need some ideas. People who are serious about their hideout need to make sure their hiding place is accessible and that a path to get there isn't being blocked by trees. Having your route memorized is imperative, considering that it's unsure of whether or not GPS will be working. Somewhere like a secret cave in the mountains or an abandoned missile silo would be a great place to start. Number 8. Hunters and Survivalists. Normally, people who didn't prepare too well and live in rural areas are going to have to resort to living like we did tens of thousands of years ago. This means that they're going to have to rely on hunting their own food. Many of us have never even picked up a gun, let alone having to deal with the violence of killing our own food. People are going to have to realize that living in the wilderness is no picnic, and you certainly won't be roasting marshmallows during the apocalypse. This is going to require a little more mental stability and research on what plants are safe to eat in order to survive. It's not zombies coming at you from all sides you're going to have to just worry about. You're going to need to learn how to react when you make contact with deadly predators around you. It'll certainly be a tough way to survive that'll take much prior research, and many people don't like this survival strategy. A survivalist like Bunny Hunter, however, as you see in this photo, might choose this style of living during the zombie apocalypse. Number 7. Cultivators. In order to repopulate mankind back to the way it was before the zombie apocalypse struck, we're going to need skilled cultivators who know what they're doing. This would also work in a rural area with open fields, but you've also got to choose your land carefully. For this strategy, it's best to store a large variety of seeds that will someday be useful. Just focus primarily on things you can eat. This definitely goes best coupled with something like the hideout strategy and should not be relied on as your only source of food. Weather is unpredictable, and who knows if zombies will come by and eat your beautiful tomato plants, mistaking them for brains. When picking a hideout, consider having some land ready to be cultivated, but also be prepared in case of ultimate failure of your crops. Number 6. Looters. Looters will basically become every zombie survivalist's worst nightmare, even more so than zombies possibly. Another possibility of surviving the apocalypse, however, will be by looting other people's settlements, hideouts, and crops. This will probably be the most common strategy employed by criminals or people with police or military backgrounds. They could also become the biggest threat to restoring any civility during the apocalypse. A doomsday prepper by the name of Tyler Smith had already began a group known as the Spartan Survival Group, who had roughly 80 members that stocked up on things like ammunition, weapon, and body armor. Now, if you're considering going this route and starting your own looting survival group, be sure to consider that you might loot a few houses successfully, but other preppers will have traps, remote detonated explosives around their house, just waiting for no-good looters like yourself to dare coming near their home fortress. We should also add that Tyler was arrested for illegal weapons possessions. Number 5. Inventors and Scientists. Mankind has used tools since they had the brain capacity to figure out that a rock would make a good hammer. Creative minds will still be put to use, even if zombies are trying to eat them. You might have thought people who had their own laboratories in their basement were crazy until the apocalypse arrives. These people strive hard to come up with the best ways to survive that the average prepper doesn't. A prepper by the name of Liu Qiyuan came up with something that's been known as the Great Ball of China, or what he calls the Noah's Ark, in order to survive the apocalypse. This thing can survive the strength of a tsunami, the cold temperatures of the Arctic, and even debris from an earthquake. So we're guessing it should be safe against zombies. Should. It's airtight with oxygen masks and plenty of food and water and even a seatbelt. Inventors and scientists will be able to barter goods for sharing their survival ideas. Number 4. Economists. Once some order is restored after the zombie apocalypse and the initial panic has subsided, some type of currency will be put to use. Your paper currency is probably best used as toilet paper at this point, but certain preppers will be ready for the barter system to take over. Stocking up on certain things now, like batteries, nails, and toilet paper, might seem a little bit ridiculous, but who knows someday? The Economist specifically stocks up on supplies in order to become rich through the barter system. In order to get a good look at what might be valuable during the apocalypse, you can understand better by seeing what's used as currency in prison. Things like top ramen noodles are now a commodity of choice, but other things like mackerels, homemade wine, cigarettes, and weapons are all worth a lot in prison. It's known that some packs of cigarettes have sold for $500 behind prison walls. Other things like silver and copper coins containing valuable metals have been specifically minted for the zombie apocalypse, like you see in this photo. It's called Zombucks. It's difficult to say what exactly will have the most value, but things like fuel, seeds, medicine, bleach, and things to start fire with are good places to start. Number 3. Scavengers. Scavenging is similar to looting in a way, but these survivors don't want to put themselves in as much danger as the looters and go for more commercial areas. Of course, no one wants to become a scavenger, but it's the apocalypse and not everyone properly prepared. This might not be the worst strategy either and requires little to no time preparing. There will be a lot to gain from scavenging. For this one, you still probably need supplies in order to become the best possible scavenger. Supplies like bags, batteries, and flashlights are all crucial. Be careful in choosing your bag, since you want something that can be moved quickly. More skilled scavengers will have talents breaking in and entering. Places like museums, abandoned warehouses, pharmacies, hospitals, gun stores, police stations, camping stores, and many places will be all targets. Be careful, however, when scavenging refrigerated items, since there's a good chance they spoiled. You and your crew might come across some zombies or other scavengers, but your main goal should be to remain undetected. Number 2. Mole people. While most people will probably end up living above ground, there are those who choose to live underground or in caves. This choice is somewhat drastic, but there's a good chance you'll go undetected by looters and zombies if you choose this prepping strategy. It's quite surprising to see what some humans are capable of creating underground. Things like entire cities are possible in the right area. Many people have invested millions of dollars in their private underground bunkers, but for the less fortunate ones in highly populated areas, places like subway systems become a last resort. Once the zombies have left the station, it can be easily secured with proper equipment. There also might be plenty of furry little food sources running around. And number 1. Zombie teams. While preparing for the zombie apocalypse, it's easy to see how resources will go longer without as many mouths to feed, but trying to be the lone survivor is not recommended. Surviving by yourself would be possible, of course, but many questions arise about how one's mental health would be after lacking socializing during such a traumatic event. This is one reason why you need a zombie team. It's preferable to have an extra set of ears, eyes, and specialties while looking out for zombies. Choosing a team isn't always easy either. You have to see which type of surviving suits you best. You might not find out exactly who someone truly is until the apocalypse goes down. So choose wisely, and hopefully, you won't be that guy who dies first.